Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View, the channel where all you Celtic fans get to have your view on the lives when we have them in the evening. Now, the breaking Celtic news this morning, the breaking Celtic news coming out of Japan, and there's nothing about it in the Scottish media as yet, but Daizen Maeda, the Japanese international team, announced that Daizen Maeda will not join the national team due to injury. The Japanese Football Association did not disclose any details of his injury, but during the international break, he will be able to have a rest and focus on recovery in Scotland. Now, when you look at the form that Daizen's been in the last couple of weeks, and he's been absolutely motoring up and down the pitch. I mean, he's covered every blade of grass at points in the last couple of weeks. It's a bit of a surprise. That's a surprise, but a lot of people are happy that obviously he'll be able to get worked on by the Celtic medical staff, and not travelling to the other side of the world will be a benefit. It means so much for him to play for Japan, but he does need a rest. He does need a rest, and it's probably the ideal time to do it. Let's hope it's nothing too bad. He was holding his groin later on in the game on Saturday, so maybe he's just had a little bit of a niggle, and it's more precautionary more than anything, so that it doesn't aggravate the injury anymore. So that's the breaking news this morning, as Daizen Maeda will not join the Japanese national team this week, and during the international break he will have a rest and focus on his recovery in Scotland. So tell me what you think about that in the comments. Make sure you give the video a big thumbs up. Also, it does help with the algorithm. And if you need to look at some Celtic merch today, if you're feeling the need, go to hoopsmerch.co.uk. Now, one Japanese Celtic player that everyone's been waiting to turn up this season is Reo Hatate. Reo Hatate hasn't really shown up this season, but finally on Saturday he did. He showed up and went, I'm the real Reo Hatate. Please stand up. And he scored an opening brilliant goal. But the only sort of bit on his CV that wouldn't be too clever was the sort of penalty that didn't get. Did he go down too easy for that? But let's face it, Reo Hatate said, look, I've had difficult times. This can be a turning point for me, hopefully, and I can perform well. It's definitely not always good times as a player. Sometimes you're kind of down and you have to work hard to get yourself back up. This game was a good opportunity for me, says Reo Hatate. At the beginning of the season, I had an injury, said the Celtic player. After that, I came back and I did the minimum job. He admitted he did the minimum job. Rather than that, I have to do my maximum. And a performance like I did on Saturday, doing that, hopefully I can contribute more to the team. So he knows that he's not been performing at the top level, Reo Hatate, and he's admitted just doing the bare minimum at Celtic and thinking that he could get away with it. But at Celtic, you cannot just do the bare minimum. And as you can see, he's obviously upped his game after his chat with the Celtic manager Brendan Rodgers. There's been a lot of people saying that the departure of Ange Postecoglou may have played in Hatate's mindset, but just as new manager Brendan Rodgers has been able to improve the midfield player as far as Hatate is concerned, Brendan Rodgers was the major factor for him signing a new long-term contract, Reo Hatate says. He says, look, when I make my mind up, when I decided to commit to the club, apparently there were some other incentives, because money goes up. He laughed. He says, putting no jokes aside, speaking to the manager, speaking about my future plans, I am convinced, says Reo Hatate, that I thought I can improve myself under this manager. Now, he did say that he'd played a certain type of football over the last couple of months, or was that Daizen that said that? It was one of the two of them said that they'd played a certain type of football under Ange Postecoglou, and they got comfortable with it. Reo Hatate has sort of came to the conclusion that he can improve his game under Brendan Rodgers. My strongest point, said Reo Hatate, is being able to work under any circumstances. So that is what I will try to do and perform. I wasn't really concerned after the previous manager left. With the current manager, it's obviously a bit different. Already there are 3 or 4 occasions I speak with him personally, so he's admitted having at least 3 or 4 conversations with Brendan Rodgers on a personal basis. He's given me a personal challenge, which is interesting. Even for us all as a team, it's very different to the way that I work with him. I am certainly enjoying it, said Reo Hatate. That's absolutely fantastic news as far as Celtic is concerned, that he's got a good working relationship with the manager. You always want players to have a good working relationship with Brendan Rodgers. Now, when you think about Brendan Rodgers first time round, and you think about the Invincible season, and you think about one player that played on the wing, have Celtic uncovered a treble hero replica in Scotty Sinclair? Is Lewis Palma... Tell me in the comments, do you think Lewis Palma is our Scotty Sinclair of this team? It's certainly something to think about, because let's face it, Scotty Sinclair going down that wing, as the song said, it was absolutely fantastic. And Lewis Palma looks as if he's the player that could step into those shoes in this Brendan Rodgers team. He could be the new Scotty Sinclair. It looks as if he's got real pace, which Yang does have, but Yang doesn't have the end product, and this is the only problem that we have with Yang just now. I mean, Yang can get down and it gets past players to a certain extent, but his end product just isn't there. It's where you look at Lewis, and you look at Lewis Palma, and you look at the goals that he's scored, you look at the fact that he's getting down the wing, and he's getting past players, you know, and he can whip the ball in. He's done absolutely fantastic so far. So do you think that Lewis Palma can be our Scotty Sinclair? And will we go unbeaten now to the end of the season? That's one of the biggest questions. Very much like Sinclair under Brendan Rodgers, he really likes to run with the ball, and you know, he's got touches and he can get the ball into dangerous areas, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Scotty Sinclair was a complete hero back then. He was a complete hero. Will Lewis Palma be a new Celtic hero? Tell me what you think in the comments. But it does all come down to statistics with Celtic, and when you look at Scotty Sinclair's stats, you know, he scored 62 goals and 33 assists in 167 appearances for Celtic. It's a phenomenal effort by the Englishman. And the overriding memory of Scottish Sinclair was obviously the 2-1 opening day one over Hearts in 2016. That was a long, long time ago. Well, Sinclair obviously sucked away in 81 minutes, become an instant hero. And the treble side, Invincible season, you know, it was just absolutely fantastic. If Lewis Palma can become half the player that Scotty Sinclair was, Celtic will have some player on their hands, and it's looking like he might actually achieve those dizzy heights as far as I am concerned. So just a recap over the Celtic news this morning, as Daizen Maeda has been withdrawn from the Japan national squad that will play Canada and Tunisia. It would have been interesting to see Daizen Maeda up against the one and only Alistair Johnson. That would have been some competition. The pacey winger has picked up some kind of injury. He played 89 minutes on Saturday over the 3-1 win over Kilmarnock, but there's been no mention of a knock. People have said that he had a little bit of a groin issue towards the end of the match, but he has been pulled out of the squad. If it's a long-term injury, we don't have Jota. Leland Bada's out injured. Maeda was always a first-team pick in the last couple of seasons. Well, let's just hope it's all sorted, because the next Celtic game is obviously October the 22nd away to Hearts, and then we've got a lot of really important games coming up right on the back of that. We've got Real Madrid and we've got Hibs also. So let's just hope it's nothing too bad with Daizen, and let's just hope he gets this next week and a half and he can get some recovery time. So on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.